How do you get better at prompting? By having a better brain. What I mean by that is, in today's society, somehow, some way, they've trained you not to think because everything's at your fingertip and it's so convenient.
What stops most of us is doubt. This panel is here to help you unlock and shift that doubt. You can prompt because prompting is your ability to use your reptilia to start expressing desire.
ChatGPT is a public website and they're very open about the fact that they use the information that you input to ChatGPT to continue training the models that are able to give output. So if you have confidential information, I wouldn't recommend putting it into ChatGPT because that's now public information.
Did they speak about it last panel? Because Sora is something that's going to change the whole world. I'm talking in Hollywood, they stopped film production because this app is about to happen. And this app allows you to put a prompt in and it will create you a 1 minute to 5 minute to 10 minute, I don't know how long it is, film of your prompt. So if I say right now we're talking technology in Croydon, murky building, the 5 minute video clip, then I'll say another one, 5 minute, add them together, I got a 10 minute film and it's in 5K, 8K. It's like proper serious. So, you know anything about Sora?
Just to clarify quickly, because I know the audience will have all different starting points. A prompt is just the beginning request at the beginning when you're starting with AI. Let's say you open ChatGPT and you want to ask something. That thing that you ask is a prompt. So make me a meal plan is a prompt.
And the reason why that's really good to highlight is because people are worried that AI is going to take my job. AI is going to take over everything. If you don't prompt it, then it can't kind of function. So you need to get better at prompting. How do you get better at prompting? By having a better brain. What I mean by that is, in today's society, somehow, some way, they've trained you not to think because everything's at your fingertips and it's so convenient. Now with ChatGPT and prompting, you have to think because you need to think about what you want in order for it to give you your answers. That's why they pay so much money for prompting. So my vision in the near future is that people are thinking AI is going to replace people. I think the more you have a human brain is the more expensive you're going to be able to charge for your services or the more valuable you're going to be to a company because how you think and how you prompt stuff is what AI needs in order for it to do its work. So don't think that you're not valuable. Remember the first computer was a human brain. Don't forget that.
Yeah, I love the flow. And try and break it down even more. If you look at it this way, if you thought of what you had for dinner last night and you just think of it for a second, think of your dinner and picture it in your mind, you would realize that you are seeing an image that is not in any language. It's not in a language. You can see the plate, you can see what you ate. It's an image. Now, when you are asked what you had, you are going to speak in a language. You're going to say, I had this in English or in another language. You changing that image to English is a prompt. That's what prompting is. You have to have something in your mind and then you have to express it. So back to basic school, this is back to your ability to speak in a language, your vocab. If you have a bad vocab, you will be lagging in prompting. It was maths, English, science. If you look very carefully at what's going on with this, what they've done is like with websites, they've removed the hard bit, the math bit that gets people going. And they're saying, right, leverage it on the communication bit. So with your communication, your brain, as everyone, you've got 3 parts. Everyone was born with a functioning reptilia brain. In that reptilia, you've got your passions, your hunger, your desires. And if you can just start to express them in words, you are prompting and you start to create some of the most amazing things. Guys, I think I need to just say this so you understand. One of my biggest companies is a digital marketing agency where we do lead generation in real estate. That was one of the reasons why I started to dig into AI because we were using algorithms. So when this AI came out, generative, it wasn't something strange to me. But what had happened prior to then is that we kept on tuning our brains. What type of creative messages and images should we be using for these marketing campaigns? What will make people respond? For most people here, if you're looking something as basic as, well, you know what? I want to date this girl. What are you going to say to her? That's a prompt. I want to look good for this guy. What am I going to say to him? That's a prompt. What should I wear? I want to look like this. It's a prompt. That's what it is. It's just a new word. So you already have prompts in you. I guess this panel is here to help you unlock what is there. If you can dress up, you've got style, you've got swag, those are prompts. So I want you to not feel afraid or limited by traditional education and let loose and be. Let Willy loose. Let Willy loose and start to play about on your phone or on your laptop, and you'll be pleasantly surprised that many of the successes I've had them through errors, just mucking about and, God, that looks good. Put a price on it. The amount of times that has happened, no one's going to tell you that. But in this room, we're letting you know that the creativity in you, as you are right now, can do it. What stops most of us is doubt. This panel is here to help you unlock and shift that down. You can prompt, because prompting is your ability to use your reptilia, not any other part, just your reptilia brain to start expressing desires. Or after all, why does Kim Kardashian make so much money when she's not showing her beauty? Because that's what people want to see. AI, you've got what it takes, guys. Unlock.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So I was going to say, because you asked a question about what content generation and what we see like film production and things like that.
Yeah.
So just to answer the question, with the history of AI, people think that AI is a new thing. It's not a new thing. Actually, it was founded in 1963 in Milton Keynes somewhere. But the reason why we're seeing such a surge of AI now is because of generative AI, which is we see as of 2021. It's a journey. It started with AI, then machine learning, then deep learning, then generative AI, which is where we see models that are able to produce text, produce images, and have conversations in ways that we haven't seen before in society. So the reason why I touch on this is because you mentioned content generation. And the way that I like to think of generative AI is in 4 pillars in terms of capabilities: text generation, content generation, image creation, and just conversation. Examples could be the ChatGPT, that's conversation. Image generation, create me an image, here's a description. Image generating text, I'm about to write an email with these topics, write me an email. So the fact that it's able to produce things that are useful for us is what makes generative AI generative AI. So like I mentioned before, you don't have to be a scientist, you don't have to be an AI engineer to interact with artificial intelligence. Rather, you just need to be able to speak. So you mentioned the content generation, and the reason why I wanted to bring it back is just so we know that now we see generative AI as a surge because that is what's new. But in history, we've just seen the development of technology, and now we've reached a point where we're witnessing the biggest technological transformation that we've ever seen in history, which is important for all of us to embrace. So for things like content generation, film production, it's something that we should embrace and make the most of since we've got it available.
Embrace technology, people. Embrace technology, please. Right, listen, we got 3 minutes left for this panel, and I want to put it over to the audience to ask a couple questions. So just before we finish, do we have any questions from the audience regarding AI or for the panelists?
On the spelling of Sora.
Oh, spelling of Sora. It's S-O-R-A, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, S-O-R-A. Yeah, Sora. S-O-R-A. Content generation. It is crazy, like proper crazy. Yes, my brother.
Hello. Thank you for the talks. Very interesting. I just wanted to ask you just a little bit about what tools you use. I understand you use ChatGPT. Are there any other sort of tools that you're using for your AI businesses and creation?
So this is super basic, super minor, but when it comes to having images, let's say I'm creating a PowerPoint and there's an image in the background and I can't get rid of the background. There's a website called removal.ai. I just upload the image and it removes the background. But that's an example that comes to the top of my head. There's also Perplexity AI. Sometimes it's useful because it gives you the sources at the end. There's also a Microsoft Copilot. So on Bing, a lot of people hate Bing, but Bing has an option called Copilot, similar to ChatGPT, except it doesn't maintain... Oh, this is one thing I meant to say actually. Is that Bing Chat Copilot is good, especially for enterprises, because it doesn't use your data to train the models. And what I mean by that is ChatGPT is a public website and they're very open about the fact that they use the information that you input to ChatGPT to continue training the models that are able to give output. So if you have confidential information, I wouldn't recommend putting it into ChatGPT because that's now public information. It can be public information. But in Microsoft, they have Microsoft products, which one of the key things said is that when you have a Microsoft product like Bing Chat Copilot deployed in your organization, your data used and the information that you put in it is not used to train the model. So keep an eye out for websites, these AI websites, because they do say, this is the public information. But my top 2 are definitely ChatGPT, Perplexity AI. I know a lot of people use Claude AI as well, Claude, CLAUDE.ai, and removal.ai for my images for PowerPoints is really useful.
Any other last questions? Because I've got a question as well, actually. Not a question, kind of a statement. Any other last questions? Yes, my brother.
Yeah, the question I actually had was, what would you say would be the limits in terms of how AI can be utilized?
There's no limit in it. Yeah, it's crazy right now,
Yeah, it's
Quickly answer that one, though. Someone of you to answer that quickly.
It's evolving.
It's evolving, it's limitless.
The whole intent of AI is to replicate man, and man is eternal. We don't die. We just go from here to the grave and goes on. That's what AI wants to be. Yeah.
I feel like it sounds really scary when you say it like that. I think the purpose of at least machine learning, which is the step like after AI, is just teaching machines what human beings can do. It can't replace the way we think. At the end of the day, it's just trained on data that already exists. So the limits of AI is the limit of your data. If you have data that says that women do certain things, men do certain things, all AI can do is tell you what it's been trained on. So that's where the limits come from. So So in terms of replicating, I wouldn't scare and say that
No, that's fine.
it's a replace us as human beings, but it's just as good as the data that we train it with, which is why it's really important to have good data.
And it brings me to my next point. Last question from yourself, but the next point I'm making. Why is it so important for us to be involved in the growth of AI? Because you see, when you put in prompt about black people, it doesn't tell the truth. You see, when you write and put in show me a beautiful black woman, it won't show you that picture. So it's very important that we put the information into these AIs for it to have the correct information for everybody else. And I mean, it's that serious. It's starting now. So we don't have to feel I'm not included. Get involved, make it benefit for yourself. Last question, quickly.
So it's not really a question, it's more of a point. I just say the limits of AI currently is basically what you can verify, because as we said, like, it gets it wrong sometimes. So it can do anything you really want it to do. If you can't verify it, you won't really know if what it's giving you is true. And then I'd say, going back to the bias of the data, a really good Netflix series is Coded Bias, really digestible, understandable for everyone, and it will show you basically the impact of a poor model and what it did to the black community in America.
Sorry, I wanted to say a point as well, not a question, but limit is also that it doesn't have emotions or feelings. So you're not going to get a perspective that is like nurturing or caring. It's just giving straight facts to everybody.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I made the point about it's only as good as the data that you train it on, because it can recommend you things based on what's already happened. It can't have the scope to think on its own, because at the end of the day, it's a piece of technology.
To come back to that though, if you want, you can add EQ to it. So I can share with you, I've created an algorithm, you ask it to show human emotion, you can add cultural bias, you can add it to it. So if don't ask, you don't get, that's what you have to remember.
We're going to leave it there, but I want you to understand what just happened there. It's not just the panelists with the knowledge. You people have the knowledge, but we need to communicate more. In our community, we don't communicate enough. So today, right now, when you go and get your water, when you go and support the exhibitors, please talk amongst yourself, ask questions, and make sure you lot know that you are the teachers of tomorrow.